If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine Combat Veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Brian Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough as nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Oh, let me tell you something. I am so sick of Washington and all its works and all them politicians down there and them congressmen. I'll bet you won't find none of them congressmen signing down their electric blankets tonight. Which if they did, their secretaries would get up and go home.
We gotta do something. Absolutely. You know what we gotta do? Toga party.
Toga! 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 Toga!
Click, click, boom! I'm coming down on the stereo, baby on the radio. Click, click, boom!
I want you to kill every golfer on the course.
Check me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if I kill all the golfers, they're gonna lock me up and throw away the key.
Well, hello, America. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We're coming to you live right now from KLRNradio.com, where we come to you live every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Central. I am joined by my usual co-host and cohort on Friday nights, Mr. Dan Wright, who has once again managed to get himself into a smattering of trouble on Twitter, but he did manage to get one of his main accounts back. Good evening, Mr. Dan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am sitting here wishing I had a drink in my hand. Sad that I don't, but it's Friday, so I'll remedy that after the show. Other than that, it's been an okay week, okay day, other than watching Twitter meltdown over 2 scoops of ice cream. And, yeah, fun times. So, we have a guest this evening, which you have arranged, so I will let you introduce her in a moment, but just wanted to let folks know we do have a guest coming on. Again, Dan's done the lion's share of the work of arranging the guest, so I'll let him introduce her in a moment. But yeah, so we do have a guest with us this evening, so it won't just be you guys listening to me yell and then Dan yell and then me yell some more.
Yeah, it won't be the rant back and forth show that we typically have, but we do have a fantastic guest. We have Pat Nicklaus who is tongue-tied, who is a senior policy advisor for the Federalist Party. And one of their people, a friend of mine, approached and asked if we'd like to have her on the show, and I said, absolutely. She's a very, very, very interesting background that I think a lot of our listeners are going to be very interested in, especially a guy named Mr. Slickery Trigger.
Oh, yeah, Slick is going to love this guest.
But anyway, I say we go ahead and bring Pat on. Pat Nicklaus, everybody. How are you doing, Pat?
Hi, guys. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Very, very glad to have you on. Rick and I have definitely taken a real hard, good look at the Federalist Party, and we're both so far very pleasantly surprised and impressed at what's going on.
Oh yeah, it's exciting times for the party, that's for sure.
Okay, well, let's get right into it. If you could give our audience a little bit of your background and kind of how you came about to getting here.
Sure, be happy to. My wheelhouse is pretty much the Second Amendment, and along with that was the pro-life movement, and spent a lot of time in the Des Moines, Iowa area. Started off as communications manager for a gun rights group up there that was the NRA affiliate for the state. From there, I moved on to being an NRA EBC, then to the board of directors for Gun Rights Across America. Was a registered gun rights lobbyist for a little while, and just decided that it was time to move into actually doing something, not really involved just in a single wheelhouse, but doing something overall for promoting small government, for promoting federalism, for promoting the Constitution the way the founders intended. And had a friend, Joel Curtinitis, who I'm sure many of your listeners know is heavily involved with the Federalist Party, happened to be a good friend of mine while I was in Des Moines, and I just started asking him questions, and we ended up where we are today. It's been an exciting ride.
Excellent. Yeah, it's things seem to be moving along almost quicker than J.D. Rucker had expected, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's scary, in a way, but it's an exciting scary. It's a happy scary. It's we're the meteoric rise in the interest of the Federalist Party has been, man, it's like you can almost see the light bulb go on when you start talking about federalism to people. They're like, wait, you mean you can return power to the states? We can return power to we the people? We can reduce the bloat of the federal government? Yes, not only can we, we must. It's at the core of what the founders intended. And we have to get serious about it as a country, or tyranny will no longer be lurking around the corner. Tyranny will be staring us right in the face. And I think a lot of people are starting to understand that.
Absolutely. We've been watching, I think especially over probably about the last 20 years, a real serious erosion in the Constitution. And I find it, I pretty much left the GOP about 13 years ago. And I did for a while latched on to the Libertarian Party, and I just saw them kind of moving in the wrong direction too, other than a few people like Austin Peterson. And this came along, and being friends with my friend Bobby, who's heavily involved, he was like, dude, you got to check us out, and you know how Bobby is. And, and I am very impressed so far. Very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
So with the party, I mean, obviously you are concentrating on Second Amendment rights. What else are you going to be doing with the party?
Right now, we're at the baby stages right now on, getting the platform first of all put together, and I plan to be used in whatever way the Federalist Party needs to use me. Right now, the way they need to use me is, helping with that Second Amendment platform. if they need to use me in a different capacity down the road, I'm going to let them determine how I can be best used. But right now, the heavy focus is on the Second Amendment and its relationship, quite frankly, to the 10th Amendment.
Excellent. Yeah, you mentioned Joel. We plan on hopefully having Joel on too, either on here or on my other show. And I look at Joel and you and some of the other people that I know that are involved, and I'm very impressed with how JD has found people that aren't real well known in the political field, at least nationally, and pulled them together. And I'm really impressed with the team he's pulled together. The excitement level when I talk to people that I know that are involved is just amazing.
Yeah,
and the excitement level in you sound just almost ecstatic to be involved in this.
Oh, I'm on fire. I am so honored to be a part of this. Finally, we have a party that's unlike any other third party. I hesitate to call us a third party. We were the first party. If anything, Democrats and Republicans are the new kids on the block. This is more of a resurrection of the first party than it is the creation of a new party, in my opinion. What JD is doing is resurrecting the Federalist Party.
That's a very interesting way to look at it. I've kind of looked at things kind of the same, but in a different direction. As I looked at it as it's kind of the second party of a two-party system, because I believe the other two parties are basically just one party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that became pretty obvious with this last election.
Yes. You've got, I'm fond of saying that we have the socialists, and then we have the socialist lights.
That's a good way of putting it. I'll never forget. I was flabbergasted. I was watching that second debate, okay? And we're supposed to have, this clear division between the two parties, okay? And they start talking about gun rights, and they start talking about the no-fly list. And they start talking about, banning Second Amendment rights from people on the no-fly list without due process. And both candidates are agreeing with each other on that in the second debate. My jaw hit the floor. It was just another thing that showed me that there is no difference between the two parties. We can talk about the spending and how they both spend constantly. We can talk about the grab for government control that we get for both parties, but even down to the level of our rights, there's no difference between them.
You're right. The differences are subtle. There's obviously quote unquote policy differences, but when it all comes down to it, just looking at the, I hate calling it healthcare, but the healthcare thing,
mm-hmm.
The Republicans just did a rollover for the Democrats, and then the Democrats cried about it. But they took what was there and made a couple minor changes and threw it right back out and cheered, and we got rid of Obamacare. But you didn't get rid of Obamacare.
No, you tweaked it. You didn't get rid of it. You tweaked it.
Yeah, I just the whole, yes, we have the House, we have the Senate, we have the White House. It hasn't made a difference.
Of course it hasn't. It was in the first 2 years of Obama's. It was in the first 2 years of Obama's term when he had when the Democrats had the White House, the House, and the Senate, that Obamacare passed. Well, supposedly the other party, Republicans, we've got the House, we've got the White House, we've got the House, we've got the Senate. Why can't it be repealed in the first 2 years? There is no desire in Washington. I don't care if you have an R after your name or a D after your name. There is no desire in Washington to get rid of something that greases the palms of the special interest group that gets you elected.
Okay,
period.
So you guys have had a pretty good back and forth, so I haven't wanted to butt in too much, but I have something I'd like to interject here, because let's get real for a second about this whole repeal Obamacare, because everybody remember that's what they said for like the first 5 years after the Obama administration is repeal, 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 repeal. Then once we got closer to the last election, it started becoming repeal and replace. I want to point something out for the listeners. The Republicans, when it was nothing but a show of this is what we'll do if you give us everything again, tried to pass a repeal measure of Obamacare. I believe the number was 66 times. It actually made it to POTUS's desk more than once, and it was signed away. So I have a question. Or it was basically turned away because Obama didn't want to sign it. So I have a question. If they had all this in place already, they had this same thing that they floated 66 times to make it go away. As soon as Donald Trump became POTUS, why did that not get passed through the House and the Senate again and go to Donald Trump's desk so he could sign it?
Oh, you know the answer to that question.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to see if the listeners
at home are paying attention. It was all grandstanding, and they knew he wasn't going to sign it. They knew Obama wasn't going to sign it. It was grandstanding, and now push has come to shove, and we can see that it was grandstanding.
Well, I mean, there's another take on that, too, though, because honestly, there's another reason why they didn't put it on Trump's desk either, because they knew he wouldn't sign it either. Because let's not forget Trump's 60 Minutes interview, where he blatantly told everybody that as far as he was concerned, there was a portion of health care that needed to be provided by the government, and he didn't care if it was an un-Republican thing to say. This is the reason why we are in the mess that we are in. We have literally, and again, I root for Trump when I can, but we have literally put a Republican in name only in the White House. You can call anyone else in the country a rhino that you want, but you literally put someone who is the definition and epitome of a Republican in name only in the White House. And this is why everything is still just as messed up today as it was when Obama was in office.
That's a good point. I forgot all about that 60 Minutes interview. It flat out. He said everybody will have health care and the government will pay for it.
The funny thing is, I showed people that audio clip, that video clip over and over and over again. They accused me of editing it and called me a liar. So then I showed them the whole video. You're still taking it out of context. It's the whole interview. What's to be taken out of context? That's not what he meant.
Well, that's the thing these days. Every video is edited. Well, yeah, every video pretty much is edited. Most of them edited for time, but they get mad at me when I say it. The pro-aborts with the whole PPAC video from last summer. They say, well, it was edited. Yeah, well, it was edited, but you can go online and watch the whole video. Yes, it was edited because you didn't want to see the regular chit-chat that didn't matter sitting at lunch. It was edited to the point parts that mattered. It didn't change what was said. Everybody's with this, oh, it's been edited. It's been edited. It's no good. It's been edited. Every video you watch on TV has been edited.
Well, that's like
what TV does. They edit videos.
That's like all the way back to when Nancy Pelosi got caught with her foot in her mouth when she said we had to pass the bill to find out what was in it. The left started screaming and yelling that was taken out of context. So I went back and I found the whole, all of the footage that I could find about it. It doesn't matter what the stuff that she said in front of it or behind it. It doesn't change the fact that she was specifically talking about Obamacare, and the only way that we were going to ever know what was in it was if it got passed.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have the Republicans.
The thing is, though,
doing the same thing.
And that's exactly. I mean, health care is not in the Constitution anywhere. We don't have a right to health care, and I'm getting sick of hearing from everybody, left and right, that health care is a right.
You hear that exploding sound somewhere? She just made a lib's head explode somewhere in the country. I guarantee you.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, everybody I know had better health care before Obamacare, including my ex-wife's sister, who has hardly worked a day in her life. Her health care was better before Obamacare. You know, the state took care of her. Basically, Obamacare came along, and it became a federal thing, and all of a sudden her health care in her state changed. You know,
and that's exactly. Yeah. It's name one thing that the federal government does better than the state could do, or even the municipality. Interstate construction, maybe, yeah. Defense, national defense, yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
You know, but yeah, you know, but healthcare, a state like Iowa, okay, population is fairly elderly. You know, what they need for the residents of their state is a whole lot different than what California needs for the residents of their state. A one-size-fits-all approach to healthcare, which again isn't in the Constitution anywhere, is never going to work. A one-size-fits-all approach to anything doesn't work.
Well,
the government is not set up, the federal government is not set up to act like a not-for-profit. Let's put these things back in the state's hand, back in the individual's hand, and back in charity's hand.
So not to offend the 3 conservatives still living in California, but what California needs for their population is a giant rubber room to just drop down and cover the whole state. We'd all be good then.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I have friends, some of them mutual friends with you and I, Rick, and they're all, I mean, it's a kind of a mass exodus out of California right now.
See, that
and everybody I
that
know that's still
me.
there is trying to figure out how to get out.
See, that worries me, though, because what happens with these mass exoduses every single time is we get so many liberals that wind up eventually leaving, too, that they go somewhere that works better, and then they start changing everything just like the place that they left. It's happening in Texas as we speak. Austin is now purple.
Austin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the mass exodus to Colorado is going back now that California's passed legalized marijuana.
The ones that can afford to. You know, the funny thing is about that legalization to Colorado, I heard so many news stories about people that would like take their last $50, throw 30 of it in the gas tank, drive as far as their car would get them, and then walk the rest of the way just so they'd have $20 to buy a brownie. And then they didn't have any way to get home. I literally was reading story after story after story about that when that first happened, just from people that were coming from there or to there from here, because, you know, for those of you who don't know, Oklahoma borders Colorado, so if you get up near the Panhandle, you can kind of walk and just kind of be there. So there were people that I actually knew that literally stranded themselves just to be able to go partake, and then they took them like 3 months to get home.
Yeah, so right there at the border of Colorado, there's a whole bunch of cars with California plates sitting on the side of the road, no gas in the tanks.
This is probably more true than we know. All right, so we are approaching the bottom of the hour. I figure we've kind of hit a good point to go ahead and get the break out of the way now. You are listening to Robinson and Wright. We're right here live on KLRNradio.com. We're going to be back here in just about 3 or 4 minutes. We're going to have to take a break, pay some bills. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back again with our guest Pat Nicklaus, and myself and Dan, and we'll be.
They also serve those who stand and wait, praying by the foe to learn their loved one's fate. But they're still in the war, and let there be no mistake. They also serve those who stand and
Here's George
Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine combat veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
They also serve those who stand and wait, praying by the foe to learn their loved one's fate. But they're still in the war, and let there be no mistake. They also serve those who stand and wait.
All right, folks, welcome back, and we're live. We're in the second half of the show already. All right, so before I forget, because I meant to mention it at the beginning of the show, the different bumper music tonight is actually because tonight is actually Military Spouse Appreciation Day. So just wanted to throw those bumpers out there and say I hope all the military spouses out there are having a great Friday. And for those of you that are mothers, I do hope you have a great Mother's Day coming up, because I won't be able to talk to you again until Monday. And again, we are back. We are live right now on KLRNradio.com. I am with my usual co-host, Mr. Dan Wright, and our guest, Miss Pat Nicklaus, and we are going to continue the discussion. So, did I lose you guys?
Oh,
no, there you go. Started to panic.
The other thing that has been kind of driving me crazy this week, and I actually had a break in work the other day and was actually able to sit down and watch some of the banter on the Senate floor. And the Congress is in session for now. I think it's been 5 days, so like 20 more days, and then they're off for the rest of the summer. And every time I get a chance to watch what's going on, all it is a bunch of bickering back and forth about who's talking to Russia. What exactly is getting done? There's absolutely nothing getting done at all. I didn't hear I haven't heard a single word of real legislation or policy at all.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate on that one. Okay? Is that necessarily a bad thing?
Okay, you may have a point there.
You know, let them sit there and bicker. Exactly. You know, what's the last good bill you remember coming out of Washington? When was it? And then contrast that with what was the last good bill that came out of your state, and when was it?
The last good bill that came out of my state was shot down. So, and that would be, I'm in North Carolina, and that would be House Bill 2. Which, you know, kept women going to women's rooms and men going to men's rooms. For some reason, that's a problem.
Gender is fluid, you genderist. Yes,
yeah,
I'm making words up now, but that's okay.
Doesn't the B in LGBT kind of reaffirm that there's only two genders?
Shh, don't tell them that. You'll make their heads explode.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of science, I think.
Yeah. Well, the point I was trying to make there is I can't, I honestly cannot think of good legislation that has come out of the federal government that is in line with the duties and responsibilities delegated to the federal government in the Articles of the Constitution. I really cannot think of one. Lumber tariffs, no. This recent budget, no. Healthcare, which isn't even in the Constitution, no. Gay marriage, no. There's nothing that I can think of that came from the federal government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. What I can think of that's happened recently is last year in Missouri, permitless carry passed, and Governor Nixon, liberal governor at the time, vetoed it. We had a veto override at the state level, and we now have permitless carry. That is huge.
Yeah, and you'd like to say every state should have that, but it's
well,
you can't have
every state except California.
Every state should be able to decide that on their own.
Exactly.
Every state except California.
And that you just said it right there. Would it be nice if every state had it? Yeah, it'd be fantastic. But it's up to every state to decide for themselves.
Yeah, see, I vote every state.
Like here in North Carolina, we have permitted concealed, and we have statewide open carry, except for one county, of course, the county that the capital is located in. That's the problem here in North Carolina. North Carolina is essentially a red state, except for pretty much two little pockets, one including where the capital is. But that's what our state says, and that's fine with me. It's not the federal government telling my state how to do it.
Right, and the beauty of it being at the state level, you know, a lot of good laws get made at the state level, and a lot of bad laws get made at the state level. But the good thing about those laws being made at the state level and not through government, you know, federal government bloat, is they're easier to fight at the state level. They're easier to overturn.
Yes, and I mean, you know, like I said here with open carry, you know, it kind of varies depending on where you are, but in the area I live in, I mean, I walk into the Walmart and, you know, if just one trip to Walmart, I may see 2 or 3 guys, you know, with a Glock on their hip. Mm-hmm. And I think it's great. I personally don't like to open carry, but at the same time, I think it's great because they walk through Walmart and nobody bats an eye at it. You get people that, you know, I was open carrying one night walking my dog in a subdivision I worked in or lived in, a rental subdivision. And I actually got an email from the management office asking me not to carry my gun because yet stern email back from me.
Oh, you're a better man than I am. Mine would have been laced with total sarcasm. You know, it's just it bothers me. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. You know, when it seems like the expectation of the anti-gun links catered to is not.
Absolutely. It's now become pretty famous on social media. A post that went out a couple years ago from a girl that said that if I see somebody open carrying, I'm going to pepper spray them, take their gun, and hold them there until the police get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay,
you understand
so you're
that
going...
physical assault.
And it was somebody from Texas, too. It's pretty funny.
Austin, I'm guessing.
I don't remember, but that's a very good possibility. But, yeah, it's that, you know, I got that email that day, and, I mean, at first I was kind of flabbergasted. I was like, are you serious? I mean, I was walking my dog at 2 a.m. because I had done a night job at work. And I lived in a nice neighborhood that was bordered by a not so nice neighborhood. So when I walked my dog late, I'd grab the .45 and stick it on my hip and walk the dogs. And to get that email, I was like, do you even know the laws of the state you're doing business in?
Yeah, the Second Amendment debate is definitely an emotional one on one side and a fact-based one on the other side. And quite honestly, I'm not going to stop viewing law-abiding gun owners as, you know, one step closer to a lunatic about to go berserk simply because they're holding a piece of polymer and metal.
Yeah, I've been, you know, I'm one of those for a few years now. I've been one of those social media trolls that I am one of those social media trolls that pretty much completely took over the gun sense hashtag. And they're unhinged.
But here's the problem, okay? So we have that on both sides, though. You know, we just tend to agree with our side. Yeah, we do. You know, there's a lot of over-emotionalism on, you know, one thing that drives me nuts on our side is I don't need a permit. The Second Amendment's my permit. No, your permit is your permit. Again, it brings us back to the 10th Amendment. What the permits aren't mentioned in the Second Amendment. They're not, it doesn't say you have to have one. It doesn't say you don't have to have one. Therefore, it goes back to the states. It's a decision for the states and the people of the states to make. It's not an infringement on your right to keep and bear arms if you have if you're required to have a permit. We could talk all night long about the fees associated with a permit. There's arguments to be made on both sides of the fence on that one. But yeah, we got to quit the Rambo attitude on our side of the issue and understand that the 10th Amendment heavily in states' rights heavily comes into play here.
Absolutely, and even when it comes to and even if it was given to states, I can tell you by the way my state works, it does not bother me to walk into the sheriff's department and for 15 minutes fill out paperwork and wait for it to be processed so that I can get a purchase permit. It really doesn't bother me. People get so upset that, I hear people saying, well, a background check is an infringement on my Second Amendment rights. Well, it really isn't. And
no.
It works good in my state. I hear nightmare stories. I mean, here, if you walk into the sheriff's department, it literally takes you 15 minutes and you walk out with 4 pistol purchase permits that are good for 2 years.
Right. And it doesn't infringe on your right to own, keep, or carry, firearms. It doesn't. It may not be convenient to do it. It doesn't cater to your conveniences, but just because it doesn't, cater to your convenience doesn't mean it's an infringement.
Correct. I mean, maybe you'll consider it an infringement if you're actually a felon.
Right,
but,
exactly. Or, mentally adjudicated.
Right.
In which case you shouldn't be carrying a firearm anyway. It's illegal for you to.
Right. And it's that, and back to what you said, yes, our side needs to, some on our side need to really rethink things in their heads, because it like you said, it really comes down to a states' rights thing. If the state says you need to have a permit to carry, then you need to have a permit to carry. They're telling you can carry. You can carry, but it's almost the same process as a purchase permit. They want to make sure that you legally can carry.
Yeah, federalism, and that takes us back to the federalism that, if you don't like the permit law in your state, get it changed in your state. Just be extremely grateful that the federal government isn't deciding that you need a federal license or a federally issued permit, because that's going to be a lot harder to fight. And it has been tossed around.
Oh yeah, it'd be like California. I hear the nightmares of getting, people that already had concealed carry permits in other states go to get theirs in California, and it takes 4 months, and it costs you hundreds of dollars, and then you can get this SIG P238, but you can only get it with this grip and with this finish on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really that bad. It's
yep.
You can get this gun, but you can't get it in the finish you want because we haven't tested it in that finish. Like, the finish makes a difference.
Well, that was just like with the Clinton era. We saw it all. We saw where government ran amok with the Clinton assault weapons ban. That's something that to this day was so unconstitutional in my mind. I think had that been challenged and gone to the Supreme Court, it would have been reversed. Merely because it was based, first of all, we created a whole new definition merely for that law. So the term assault weapon was not part of the American lexicon prior to then. Assault rifle, yeah. And, since then people have been using the two interchangeably. But an assault weapon, by definition of the Clinton assault weapons ban, referred merely to cosmetic features. A firearm that had, a pistol grip, a collapsible stock, a flash hider. Things that had no bearing on the lethality of the weapon. It was
absolutely. I mean,
it was a classic case of government overreach.
My Marlin 60 fires just as fast as my AR-15.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Marlin 60. It's like the first rifle you get your kid.
Yep.
It is. It's all, and you can take a Marlin 60 and you can make it look like an AR. Oh
yeah.
But it's still a Marlin 60.
Yeah, you can add accessories to it.
It just I mean, I like my AR. It's not, I pretty much have one because I have one. It's by far not my choice. And, if I had to make a fast break for it and grab anything, I'm going to grab my 1911 and my sniper rifle.
There you go.
The AR-15 is going to get left behind.
It's not exactly the best weapon for home defense anyway.
No, that would be the shotgun.
Yeah.
Careful, now you're starting to sound like Joe Biden.
Just fire 2 shots in the air.
Yeah, never mind the fact that somebody actually took that advice like 3 weeks later and went to jail for unlawful discharge of a firearm.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know. I
mean, that was...
Say whatever you want about the Trump administration,
that
was that
was a very, very, very joyous time in my life. I laughed very hard at that.
Speaking of gun gaffes, I actually found some audio that I think you guys might like. This is kind of firing up the Wayback Machine a little bit, but you'll probably recognize this. Give me just a sec.
This is a ghost gun. This right here has ability with a 30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second. 30 magazine clip in half a second.
That, for those of you who may have never heard that clip before, that was actually Senator Kevin De Leon from California.
Yeah, that was a good one.
He's the prime reason. He's the prime reason.
30 caliber clip.
Yeah,
30 rounds in half a second. Yeah.
He's the prime reason why I think California should be the only state mandatorily excluded from open carry. Just saying.
Well, California is going to get to the point, where manufacturers are pulling out of selling in California. And there are now ammunition manufacturers that are talking about pulling out of California. California is literally going to be nothing but black market ammunition in a few years. The gun manufacturers are pulling out. They say they can't afford it. Every model needs to be tested, and it needs to be tested in every single different configuration of finish and grip and rail and everything else. Has to be tested for approval in California. And the manufacturers are like, nah, we'll just not sell there. How's that?
But see, isn't it a good thing that that's just California and it's not a federal law, and those manufacturers can go to Texas, or they can go to Missouri, or they can go to Oklahoma, or they can go to North Carolina? It's the beauty of the amendment. So I got a question for you guys. Okay, since we're talking the second, we had the national reciprocity bill that's been presented. What do you guys think?
It's federal government.
I mean, not really,
I
though.
know.
Because,
I
mean, really, on the face of it, though, national reciprocity really isn't so much to do with the federal government. It's just basically a mandate that each state has to recognize any other states concealed carry permits and the permitting requirements for that state. It's no different than the reciprocity that already basically happens with driver's licenses, which is one reason why I'm not necessarily opposed, except for California.
Okay, so the argument that I've heard on both sides of this issue is that you're taking it out of the state's hands to determine whether or not they want to recognize the permit. Because you have to admit the training requirements, are different. The permitting requirements are different from state to state. Some states don't even require a permit. Other states you got to get fingerprinted. And even show a need to have a permit. So the argument there is, should the states be required to recognize the permit of another state? Should they be forced to do so? And I'm about as strong a 10th Amendment person as they come. So you would expect me to say, yeah, I don't think we should force the states to do that. But honestly, my opinion on that is after the Supreme Court reinterpreted the 14th Amendment, in the gay marriage ruling, forcing states to recognize marriage licenses issued by other states, that's when they flung the door wide open for it, in my opinion. If we're going to reinterpret the 14th Amendment like that, then if we're recognizing marriage licenses across state lines when there are different marriage requirements in the states, then that flings the door wide open for recognizing permits across state lines. So I think the same argument can be used.
Yeah, you have a very, very good point there. And I haven't really thought about it that way. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention because I think you're absolutely right.
So I think that would be the justification for it. So I struggle with it myself on it. Is it a 10th Amendment issue or is it a 14th Amendment issue? So, but I lean towards, we just had the Supreme Court ruling, on the 14th Amendment. And especially the part regarding, any person, not denying due process of law to any person within their jurisdiction of that state. So, that pretty much lays it out black and white, pretty clear, that there is an argument for national reciprocity.
Yeah, I mean, there was I had an instance it wasn't this past Christmas, but the Christmas before. My family lives up in D.C. and Virginia. My mom and my brother, and so I travel up there every Christmas. And right before Christmas 2 years ago was when Governor McAuliffe up in Virginia decided he was going to try to kill the reciprocity with North Carolina because he didn't like North Carolina's training for a concealed carry permit, which, to be honest with you, I've been through the class. It's pretty thorough, but I guess he felt not as thorough as Virginia's. So as I was driving up and I crossed the state line, I took my Walther out of my paddle holster and I put it on my hip and I shot a picture of it and I sent it to the governor and said, I've entered your state. I am lawfully open carrying now, thanks to the fact that you want to take away my right to conceal.
Oh, wow.
And he actually responded to me on Twitter.
Did he?
Yeah,
what was the response?
He said, I don't remember the exact response, but it was something along the lines of, well, at least you're abiding by the law. Which it wasn't law yet. He was being tongue-in-cheek about it.
Right.
But, I will give him credit. He responded to me. Or one of his staffers responded to me. I'm sure it was one of his staffers.
Oh, yeah.
That was my little early Christmas present, was having maybe the governor of Virginia respond to me on Twitter.
Or at least a staffer.
Yes.
All right. Well, believe it or not.
But, yeah,
Dan, don't mean to cut you off, but are we extending or are we cutting? Because we got 10 seconds unless we're extending.
Ooh, 10 seconds? That's not even time to get social media in, is it?
So I guess we're at least extending it a little bit. How much further over you guys want to go? You want to start rapping or you want to keep talking? I'm good either way. You guys are doing most of the talking. I'm just kind of sitting here under the board.
Well, I want to throw one thing out there before we decide what we're doing, and that is if you guys want to learn more about the Federalist Party, go to thefederalistparty.org, or if you want to get updates, we're not going to spam you or anything, but text Federalist to 53445. That's Federalist to 53445.
Wait, that's fancy. You guys have
get that plug in.
That's a what? I think that's the first political party I've ever heard of with the text. Yeah, that's cool. That's kind of fancy.
Yeah, and we'll just we're not going to spam you every 20 minutes. It's just give you an update every now and then.
Oh, kind of like the Republican Party does with me after I've asked to be removed 8,000 times.
Yeah, you won't have to worry about that with us.
I could go a little bit longer if Pat wants to stay, or we can call it a wrap.
Hey, I'm good either way. I'm just along for the ride. You two are driving.
Actually, you've been great. You've been kind of driving, to be honest with you.
No, this has been a great conversation. I have absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this. It's like, sitting down with two buddies. So it's been a lot of fun.
Well, that's kind of how we roll. We want you to feel like we're kind of having a conversation in the living room, sipping on coffee or an adult beverage, whichever way you choose. But it's kind of how we do interview styles. We don't want people to feel like they've got to be scripted or come prepped with like 20 million questions and answers.
Yeah.
Because then I don't really feel like people get an honest read from the people that we're talking to if it's that well planned out. And that actually, I've had people that have turned down interviews with me because I will not let them script it out. I absolutely, for the most part, will refuse. If somebody tries to give me a list of things they want to talk about, I'll normally be like, look, that's not how I do interviews. I prefer a natural conversation because then people actually get to know you and what you think at the same time instead of sticking to talking points. And I've actually had bigger names that have been like, we won't come on your show because you won't let us do the interview the way we want to do it. I'm like, that's fine. You go take softball questions from somebody else. Because trust me, I'm not a hard interview. I let you talk.
Yeah, I mean, we had JD on. I don't know that for the whole hour. I don't know that Rick and I even really talked much, which was great. I mean, JD went. I mean, I threw in a question every few minutes, and boom, JD just went.
Oh yeah, JD he's scary smart. He is absolutely fascinating, and he's a huge part of, I think, the grassroots growth. You combine JD's ability to articulate what the Federalist Party is all about with planting the seed in people's heads. Hey, we pointing out to them the obvious, the things that they already know, that, government has gotten to the point where it's uncontrollable, to where government at the, legislation at the lowest level possible, whether it be municipal, whether it be state, it always produces better results for we the people. People know this. They know these basic concepts. But everybody, left and right, has gotten used to, there ought to be a law that supports my agenda. There ought to be a law for this. There ought to be a law for that. And we're starting to witness a rebirth of people holding, first of all, themselves accountable, having more confidence in their ability to work at the state and the municipal level to be the change they want to see, not to quote Gandhi or anything. But there's a real fire. People are sick. And they're sick and tired of what the federal government is doing to their lives. They want change.
Absolutely, and that's you brought up a good point, because I mentioned earlier that I had left the Republican Party, and when I did, it kind of opened my mind a lot more, and I got more involved in my local politics, and where I live, it kind of helps. I mean, in the town I live in, the town is very like-minded to me, but before then, I just never, I paid attention, but I didn't really pay attention, and it made me pay attention.
And I bet when you started paying attention, the realization dawned on you that more things affect you at that level than they do what's coming down the pike from the federal level. Yeah. It's a huge awakening.
We need more people to wake up to it, and I think it's slowly happening. I think a major something that would really, really, really push that along would be to get federal regulations out of public schools.
Yeah.
But I see that here. The reason we moved to the town that we moved to here in North Carolina was a small city, one high school feeder school system that is independent. We're not even a county system, and it doesn't have a Common Core curriculum. And I believe my kids actually got an excellent public school education here, because I couldn't afford to send my kids to private school. There was no way.
Right.
When we looked for a place to live, we based it on schools, and we ended up here in little old Mooresville, North Carolina, and I think my kids got a fantastic education here.
That is awesome. And it's because it's I don't know. I could go on and on and on about education. My daughter started in a private school. And then we moved to the tiny town of Winterset, Iowa. And there was just absolutely no way that we could continue to commute up to West Des Moines, to the private school that she was in. She was third grade when we made that change. And when she got in, when we enrolled her in third grade, we thought it was going to be okay, small town public school. What we had checked out seemed to check out okay. We got her into school, and I get a call from the guidance counselor, not 2 weeks into it. And they call me in and they say, "We think your daughter has ADD." I'm like, "Oh, what makes you think that?" "Well, she's daydreaming out the window." "Okay. What, is she getting her homework done?" "Yes." "What are her test scores?" "Oh, she's acing every test." "Okay, did it ever dawn on you that she's bored?" It turned out that everything that she was learning in third grade in that public school, she had already learned in second grade in a private school. She was bored to tears. And I think that's probably one of the biggest problems with our education system is, again, how we were talking about a one-size-fits-all approach to healthcare? We're doing a one-size-fits-all approach to education. And you can't do that with kids. There is no one-size-fits-all. We're not challenging them, and we're not tailoring the education. We're turning out, a generation that is barely literate.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, and it's funny you touched on that story about your daughter. Before we moved down here, we were in PG County, Maryland, and same thing with my oldest son. I was so mad. We actually had a teacher not just basically say that, I think your son may have ADD or whatever. We had a teacher actually recommend to the counselor that our son be on Ritalin.
Yeah, that happened with my daughter as well in that same situation.
Yes. And we moved down here, and there was never another word. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say he was a straight A student. He was up there. He was. I mean, the equivalent for, like elementary school to intermediate school, he was what would be a straight A student. We moved down here, all of a sudden he was challenged. His grades dropped. And at first it bothered my ex-wife. She's like, his grades are dropping. And I was like, because he's being challenged now.
Exactly.
He was not challenged up there. He's actually being challenged in school.
And it was exactly the opposite with Rebecca. Yeah. It's she was challenged at first in education, and then just went to a school that no longer challenged her. And she's listening right now, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hello.
Give a shout out to Rebecca.
It's the like our school system here. And another reason why we chose it is the superintendent of our school systems used to be the assistant superintendent of New York City schools, and he left there because he couldn't stand the way they were run. And so he left. How many schools are in the New York City school system?
Wow.
A few hundred. And he left there and came to a school system with a total of 7 schools.
Wow.
Sorry. Yeah. And he's done a fantastic job. And he's happy.
Yes.
I'm sure he's not making near what he was making up there, but he didn't care. He wanted to go somewhere where he could actually help educate kids instead of, worry about, who's getting paid and everything else. He came down here and he concentrated on education instead of concentrating on making sure that all the administrators were happy.
Right. And making sure they get the government funding and making sure they get, meeting. It seems like schools are so, they're more driven by meeting the requirements and the regulations laid before them than they are about academic excellence. And our kids are the pawns in that little chess game.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny here, they do have the absolute minimum that they have to do, because of regulations and stuff, but they would rush through that stuff, like the minimum required testing and stuff like that. I mean, It's just the school system. When we were in Maryland, the focus for months would be the minimum standard testing. We have to, they don't concentrate on that here. They really don't even touch on it until like the week of the testing. Okay, we're going to have these tests, and our kids do fine on it because they're actually learning.
And I was just going to say that they're learning the material. They're not being taught to rote memory, get through a test and then forget it all. They're actually learning something. They're absorbing something, and that's what school districts should be like.
Absolutely.
I think the problem we have. I think one of the problems we have with schools, okay, is just the way it's set up. We're set up in a way where the money, the kid follows the money. So, you're relegated by zip code on where your kid is going to go to school. That's where your property tax dollars goes. You know, the money, the kid follows the money to the school district. What we need to do is reverse that. The money needs to follow the kid. All right, so a certain amount of your property taxes is allocated to the schools. All right, so you've got a choice between public schools, parochial schools, and, vocational schools. They all have to compete for that money that's following your kid. You know, if we opened up education in such a way that the public schools were competing with the private schools, we're competing with the VOTEC schools, we're competing with the performing arts schools, you know, and parents were going in and interviewing these schools to see which one was best for them. You know, those schools, that competition would be for the money that's following your kid. Right now, there's no competition. You know, the school district knows they're going to get that money for your kid, whether your kid goes to that school or not. And the system is totally messed up that way. It needs to be reversed. Have the money follow the kid instead of the kid following the money.
You're absolutely right. And it's funny you touched on that. When we left PG County, 13, 14 years ago, the average student expenditure per year was almost $11,000.
Jeez.
We moved down to this school system, and right now, as we speak, the average expenditure per year is $5,500, and my kids got an education that was 100 times better than what they were getting up there. Like I said, up there, it was so much time was spent on, we need to hammer in the information for these standardized tests. And you can asterisk it and put it underneath and say, so we can get more federal money.
Right. But, you're talking about federalism again here. You're seeing it in action in two different localities.
Yep.
And the beauty of it is you got to move to the locality that worked for you. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't easy. But, when we were living up there, we were paying $6,000 a year in property tax on a 2,000 square foot house. We moved down here and we were paying $1,200 a year property tax on a 3,000 square foot house.
Yep.
It's
the beauty of federalism. Don't you love it?
And
that's it in action, right there.
It also goes to show you that socialism doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah. It's amazing how much federalism touches our daily lives and we don't even realize it. You just mentioned a number of things there. The way the school districts operate, what the primary focus is, that's an example of federalism, happening at the local level. Property taxes, again, example of federalism at the local level. It touches our lives in so many ways, and I think, we took it for granted for so long. I'm going to move to, one of the reasons my husband and I moved to Missouri is because of lower property taxes. But I recognize that was federalism in action. Normally people just take it for granted, and I think their eyes are starting to open a little bit at just how important municipal and state government are. And reducing that bloat at the federal level. If we put, a lot of the laws right now that are in place at the municipal and the federal, or in the state level, if we took away from the federal government that which is not delegated to the federal government in the Constitution and put it back in the state's hands, we've already seen through property taxes, through education systems, how well that works for the people of those locations.
You're absolutely correct. And I look and I have family still like up in Maryland, and they like it there, and they're happy there. Good, you're happy there. You do you in your state, and I'll do me in my state.
Yep.
That's the way it should be. I won't take away. If Maryland wants to just completely overtax and regulate everything, which they do, they regulate everything, great. That's your state. You do you, and I'm going to stay down here, and I'm going to be happy down here.
There you go.
And that's the way it should be.
What the founders intended.
That's why we have 50 states instead of one state.
Wait, wasn't there a president that said we had 57 of those? I'm just saying.
Oh, man, that shook me up.
57. What a number. But yeah, I listen to, people like the other day, people like Sally Cohn telling other people to read the Constitution.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything constitutional coming out of her mouth.
Isn't it amazing how people suddenly become they become constitutional scholars when it's it happens to support one agenda issue of theirs.
Right.
Yeah.
They somebody that they're a constitutional scholar because they know everything about the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, and these are people, especially people like Sally Cohn who likes to come off as, I'm smarter than you and I'm better than you, and you need to read the Constitution. Okay, Sally. It just, I don't know. I see it a lot now, especially on social media.
Because I'm good enough, I'm
the
smart
bios.
enough, and doggone it, people like me.
But on their bios, especially like all these people with resistance in their bios, which, like I said, I'm not a Donald Trump fan, but this resistance stuff is ridiculous, and they all have the hashtag the resistance, hashtag constitutionalist. Really?
And again, it's from both sides.
Oh, I know. It is. And that's what, both Rick and I and quite a few other people, I mean, that's kind of our attitude is, well, if I get called a Nazi and a race traitor in the same day, I know I'm doing something right.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's just, more reaffirmation that there's not a whole lot of difference between the two parties and the people who have decided to play the partisan game. We've gotten to the point where we're backing the D or the R after somebody's name. It's ridiculous. The Republican Party hasn't stuck to their platform, and I don't know how long. The Democrat Party isn't much better. It's time for, I don't care if you want to look at it as a resurrection of the first party or a new second party, but it's time.
So back to the back to the resistance thing for just a second. I just had an evil thought. With all these, resisting the resistance, we should just start using the hashtag resistance is futile. Just saying.
You mentioned, everybody concentrating on whether they have an R or a D, and that's, you got to get away from that. I mean, there's, and I'll admit it. I mean, there have been Democrats, especially on a local level, that I have liked, here, because, I mean, here, a Democrat, not all of them, it depends on what part of the state they're in, but Democrats tend to be very moderate. And I mean, locally over the last 13 years, I've voted for a couple of Democrats because, to be honest with you, I did not like what the Republican was saying. You can't, you got to look at the person. You can't just look at what their affiliation is. And that's, everybody's just, I'm just putting Republican right down the line. I'm just putting Democrat right down the line. Well, did you really listen to any of them? Did you listen to what they had to say? Or are you just doing that because they have an affiliation and you basically agree with that affiliation? And, I've heard plenty of people, I won't mention the relation to me, that voted for Bill Clinton because he was cute.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because we've gotten to the point where pop culture seems to be leading politics around by the nose. It's everybody wanted to have a beer with Barack Obama. Now we have The Apprentice in the White House.
Yeah. And now The Rock talking about running for president, and Antonio Sabata Jr. talking about running. It's like, really?
I'd rather have a president that has, the personality of a houseplant, but is a strict constitutionalist, than a guy who is Mr. Charisma and beholden to big government.
Well, it's one thing that I'm, like I said, I really, for a good chunk of his term as president, I really didn't identify as a Republican or anything. But, a lot of ways I really liked George W. Bush. And people gave him crap because he'd sound like he was making up a word here or there, and he didn't always articulate things well. And they give him crap, and I'd be like, why are you giving him crap? That it really has nothing to do with what he's doing. It has nothing to do with it. Well, a president should be fine-tuned and well-spoken. Well, I really don't care. I really don't. He could sound like Roscoe P. Coltrane for all I care if he's doing things right. I really don't care how he sounds.
Boy, I hope the people who were telling you that they wanted an articulate president have changed their mind on that after this last election. Oh my God.
Yeah, and I give, I'll give credit where credit is due with Trump, and he's not, that's what that whole resistance thing does. It drives me crazy is these people, they literally make me like Trump a little bit more.
Well, I give him credit on Mattis. I give him huge credit on Mattis.
Absolutely.
I give him credit on the proposed spending cuts. There's some good stuff, and what he had originally proposed in the spending cuts, I'm counting on that in September. I'm holding out hope.
I give him credit too, because I think he was not very happy with this budget at all.
Well, and I'm willing to remain optimistic. So I'm giving him credit on that, but I'm also going to shred him where shredding him is due.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something we need to do with all of our elected officials. I don't care if we're talking about mayor, of Mayberry, USA, or if we're talking about the President of the United States. That's, not only our privilege as American citizens, it's our duty.
Speaking of shredding and reshredding,
my senior senator here, my senior U.S. senator here, I shred him all the time. I honestly, I was one of the ones that was in the big push to. I didn't really care this past election. I want him out. I want him out. I don't like the guy. He's one of those people that worries way more about keeping his job than he does about doing his job. And I can't stand that. I cannot stand it. I'm not going to say that everything he does or says is wrong. You know, there's things I definitely agree with him on, but he cares about him. He says what he needs to say to keep his seat, and he worries about keeping the seat. That's all he worries about. That's not who I want in Washington. Yep.
All right, well, on the extended episode of Robinson Live, we're now at the bottom of hour number 2. I let him blow through the first break. We got to take this one. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine combat veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
They also serve those who stand and wait, praying by the foe to learn their loved one's fate. But they're still in the war, and let there be no mistake. They also serve.
All right, folks, welcome back. Well, we are in the bottom half of the second hour of the extended Robinson and Wright Show with our guest, Pat Nicklaus, and I'm going to let these two continue because they've been doing a good enough job without me. So, welcome back, guys.
Well, hey, it was actually funny while we were in break, we touched on Bernie Sanders supporters and kind of agreed that and actually, you know, not just the supporters. I mean, in some ways, I really like Bernie. I didn't like I didn't like his focus and his policies, but I always felt through the whole election cycle that Bernie was the most honest man up there. And,
you know, it's like I was saying in the break. I think his supporters, you know, they want the same thing a lot of us want, and that's change. You know, we don't necessarily want the same change, but we want change. And, you know, I think once Bernie supporters understand federalism a little bit, you know, if San Francisco wants gay marriage, great, let San Francisco have gay marriage. Let's not force Alabama to have it. You know, that's what federalism's all about. If, you know, Denver, Colorado wants to legalize pot, great, let, you know, Denver, Colorado legalize pot. You know, let's not force, you know, St. Roberts, Missouri to do it. That's
exactly.
Federalism in action.
And, you know, and right before we came back, I was touching on that through this whole, you know, obviously we get in our little groups, you know, and, you know, I tend to be surrounded by conservatives, and through this whole thing, this whole election cycle, I've gained a lot more progressive friends, and in talking to them, you know, and they're kind of in the same boat as us, these friends of mine, because we're all kind of in the middle here. You know, they're not happy with either party. We're not happy with either party. And when we talk, you know, obviously we don't agree on it close to everything, but there's a lot of stuff where we're like, yeah, see, we're not that different. You
right.
know,
there's I can't think of a whole lot of policy issues I agree with a Bernie supporter on. I'm not sure I can think of any, you know, but I agree on style of government with them. And that is, let the people decide. You talk to most Bernie supporters, they want the government out of their bedroom. They want the government out of their lives. They want the government out of their personal life. They respect their own privacy. They want the government to respect their privacy. They really are about, our God-given rights. Bernie supporters support our God-given rights just as much, as the staunchest conservative out there does. It's just two different paths of getting there. And if we can show them a different path, where their privacy will be respected, where they have an impact on their local laws to make them the way they want them to be, whatever fits their community, I really think there could be a meeting of the minds there, not necessarily on policy issues, but on style, on philosophy.
Exactly. It's like what we touched on. I mean, I left Maryland because I did not like the laws and the state, what I felt was state overreach where I was living. So I moved to a state where I'm, for the most part, happy with things. That's the way it's supposed to work. I mean, I don't begrudge Maryland. Let Maryland do Maryland. I'm in North Carolina. I like what North Carolina does. That's why I'm here.
Well, Joel Kurtnight sent out a tweet the other day, or it might have even been today, I don't know, and I'm paraphrasing here. But what it basically said was, if you believe that New York can have free, and I'm doing air quotes around free college, and Missouri can have constitutional carry, you might be a Federalist.
I retweeted that.
That was a brilliant tweet.
Yes, and he's correct. That's, I know there's people out there that they get in their head and they dwell on individual rights. Well, if you take it down to a complete individual level, then we're just going to have anarchy. You can't take it down that far. It's to me, states' rights is the meeting point. I mean, and if you don't like what your state is doing, you have the right to move. I mean, I moved down here. I didn't know if I had. Yeah, exactly. And I didn't. When I bought a house here in North Carolina, I didn't have a job yet. I was going to stay up in Maryland or in D.C. and stay with my brother or stay with my mom and work and then come down here on the weekends. I was lucky enough to find a job before we closed on the house down here. But, it's not an easy thing to do. But if you're fed up and you believe in it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Bottom line is it's a lot easier to be effective if you're a big fish in a small pond than if you're a small fish in a big pond. The small pond being the state level government and the big pond being the federal government.
Absolutely. And like I said, it was not easy. It was not easy on a lot of levels. We were leaving family up there. The kids weren't happy at first. It was tough, but we did it. We did it. Overall, we got, especially my oldest daughter kicking and screaming about moving down here, and dealing with that. It's tough. But once we were down here, everything was fine. Those are the decisions that need to be made, and it's your right to make them. You're not stuck where you are. If you're not happy where you are, be vocal about it. If being vocal about it doesn't change things, leave. There's other places to go.
Yep.
There's always a way to make it happen. Oh boy, was my daughter not happy when we moved down here.
I imagine. How old was she?
She was 13.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah, I'm surprised she didn't disown you.
Yeah. But once she got down here and got into school, she was happy. Totally happy.
Yeah.
She's told me, you know, since then, she's thanked me for moving us down here. And now at this point, she's a registered nurse. And she's talking about moving to Maryland. And that's fine. But she doesn't, it's not a, you know, screw you. She wants to go back up there with family, and she's making good money. And, you know, I told her what she's going to be facing up there, you know, tax-wise and everything else. But, you know, that's her decision. But she was happy down here, going to school down here. She just, you know, wants to be back up there, and that's her choice, which is what we all have.
Isn't freedom of choice wonderful?
Yes, it is.
Of course, that kind of brings us to the pro-choice thing.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That kind of bringing up choice. That just got me thinking about the whole pro-abort, pro-choice thing.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of people asking me, well, isn't abortion a states' rights issue? Isn't that something? No, absolutely not. You know, we are endowed by our Creator by the right, or with the right to, you know, certain inalienable rights, among them the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's right there. You know, and it's so, you know, a lot of people will ask me, why does the Federalist Party take such a hardline issue or a hardline stance on pro-life? Well, that's why.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's, you know, most of the people I know that are pro-life, they're also, they're realistic. I mean, it's not an issue that's ever going to go away, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And it's not, you know, Roe v. Wade's never going to be reversed. But, you know, depending on, I guess, what the states want to do, I guess, tax money should not go to abortion. The end.
Absolutely
People
not.
that do not believe in it, the people that think that it's wrong, should not have to pay for it. That's where my stance is on it. Yeah, I've seen and talked to and I've interviewed a woman on a show I used to do that she had an abortion when she was 18 years old, and she's now almost 40, and she is tortured by it every day. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to look at both ends of everything. You know, it's something that she has regretted for, you know, almost 22 years. And I hate saying pro-abort, but that's what it is. But the people who take that position, you know, also tend to, you know, be the ones who claim science, you know, that they trust science. Science has reaffirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that when human DNA mixes with human DNA, an entirely different human being is created. There's no getting around that. There's a reason why they call it conception. Yeah. It's, yeah, the thing that I'm just sick of and just makes me kind of sick is the whole quote unquote clump of cells. Or parasite. It's just a clump of cells. Yeah. Yeah, the parasite one gets me. You know, yeah. I've never heard of a parasite that left to its own devices will become, you know, a human being. Exactly. It's disgusting. But, mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it is what it is. There's birth control. And yes, birth control isn't 100%. But it's it's about personal responsibility.
There's this crazy thing called abstinence too, and it is 100% effective.
and no matter how you want to put it, it's 16 weeks deciding that you want to enforce birth control. It should not work that way.
You know, one of the great hypocrisies of the pro-choice movement, you know, the way I see it, you can't be pro-abortion and anti-gun. It's impossible. And the reason being, you know, you can't support a woman's right to choose, air quotes again, what she does with her body, and be opposed to her right to choose how she defends that same body. That makes no sense.
No, it makes no sense at all. It's, you know, I listen to these people, and they, you know, they say that it's not a human until birth, this, that, and the other thing. Yet they will totally agree that if a pregnant woman is murdered, it's double murder.
Mm-hmm. Yep, excellent point.
Well, that's because it was her choice to carry that child. So you're saying that child's only a child if the woman wants the child. If the woman doesn't want a child, it's not a child.
You bring up an interesting point. I have never heard a pro-choice female who wants to be pregnant say that she is with fetus. She says she's with child.
No. They don't have a fetus shower. They have a baby shower.
Right. Exactly.
And you just brought that up, and I've never really thought about it that way either. And that's true. You know, it's if they want the child, it's a baby. If they don't want the child, it's a fetus or a clump of cells.
Right.
Well, that's
or a parasite, exactly.
That's no different than the new laws now, where if a woman is pregnant and someone hurts her and causes her to lose the baby, since she wanted that baby, that person can be charged with murder. And if the woman also happens to die, they can actually, in most states now, be charged with 2 counts of murder.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's this really blurry line when it comes to babies, because if you don't want it, then it's a clump of cells. But if you want it, hey, it's a baby, it's great, it's wonderful. And that's a human coping mechanism, is all that is. That's part of why, if you'll notice, we're more split now in the abortion debate than we've ever been. And that's because technology has gotten to the point where now all of these younger folks that are in their late teens, early 20s have access to technology now, where when they go and have what we used to call a sonogram, ultrasound, those type of things, they're now getting 4D pictures of what the child looks like in the womb. So there's no denying that after a certain point, this is a child. There's no denying now that they have pictures where no matter basically the size of the child, it still looks like a child. And at some point, I mean, yeah, there are a couple of weeks there where you're not quite sure what's in there, but you know something's there. And that's been my argument with the whole pro-abort crowd for quite some time, because you can abort a clump of cells in a woman if you don't want them, but if they find a clump of cells on Mars, they found life. I'm really confused by this concept.
Excellent analogy. I've never thought of it that way.
Well, and it's funny you brought up sonograms. You know, where I've actually heard the argument that, you know, in a lot of states are pushing that, you know, a sonogram is a requirement before an abortion. And they're arguing against that because they don't want the mother to see that sonogram.
Well, it's like the people that don't actually research the beginnings of the abortion movement. This was not a good movement. These people that are so
no.
pro-choice need to look into the history of what actually started abortion and who came up with the idea of abortion. This is basically just an extension of a eugenics scenario that we had going in this country. There are a lot of people that don't study enough history that don't realize eugenics actually started here. We quashed it. Germany picked it up and ran with it. We were actually the first ones to start talking about eugenics, not Germany. We decided it was a terrible idea. They decided it was a great idea. And Hitler, a few years later, the rest is history. But that's a lot of what Margaret Sanger, the basically the progenitor of abortion, her entire idea was the idea that the African American race was a lesser race and needed to be removed from the continent. And one of the ways that she thought of to do that is by changing the way people thought of killing a child. Stop referring to it as a child. It's not a child until it's out of the womb. We can change their minds. We can make them think that they're doing themselves a service and giving themselves a better life by ridding themselves of this parasite. And that's where some of that initial language came from, is from Margaret Sanger. And it's been here ever since. And that's why when the first time I heard Hillary Clinton talk about what a fan she was of Margaret Sanger, I thought about all these idiots running around in the Che Guevara t-shirts. Because they really just don't have any idea what it is that they're espousing.
Well, yeah, and you're touching on that point, and I'm going to give a shout out to a mutual friend of ours, Rick, and let Pat in on a little bit of backstory with my problem last night. I got my personal Twitter account locked down for a week last night.
Twit mode.
I was in a thread on Twitter, a pro-choice, pro-life thread, and this account jumped in, and I'll paraphrase here, but he basically said, I support abortion, but I'd support it a lot more if they were aborting more N-words. And to which I called him an a-hole. And Twitter locked my account out for calling him an a-hole. But to get back to this mutual friend of ours, Stacy Lennox, she posted to me today, she said, well, he really was pushing the Sanger doctrine.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
That's the scariest part about it.
Yep.
But, the interesting thing is you could call him a name. I can come in right behind you and ask him if his parents enjoyed using him as a basketball as a child. I didn't get in any trouble. I think they just got onto you for your language.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they liked the a-hole part. But still, they made me delete that tweet. They could see that tweet. I quote tweeted him. They could see what he said. And they made me delete it and locked my account for a week. So
Twitter's
maybe
nuts.
also shows you where Twitter stands on that.
Yeah, well, Twitter's nuts.
I think you were the victim of algorithms.
I was, but it sounds better the other way.
No. You were the victim. you were the victim of Al Gore because he invented the internet.
Touche, my friend, touche.
All right, so on that note, guys, Dan, I love you, but we're already rounding the corner towards hour 2, and we're not doing hour 3, so why don't you guys start working on wrapping up?
Okay, well, hey, Pat, tell everybody, where they can find, obviously, again, the Federalist Party and where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. To learn more about the Federalist Party, just go to thefederalistparty.org or text Federalist to 53445. That's Federalist to 53445. And I can be found on Twitter at IAGunGal or on Facebook at Pat Nicklaus.
Excellent. You can find me on Twitter at Texas Special 1. That is my professional account, which is the only place you can really interact with me right now. You can find me on Facebook. My professional account is at Teed Right Off. And you can find me on Facebook at Daniel Wright, which is pretty private, but if I know who you are, I'll definitely approve it. You can listen to me on Wednesday nights right here on KLRN Radio on the right side. And
yeah, I heard your tribute to Bob, and that was good.
Yeah, I had a hard time getting through that. Yes, Bob was awesome. You know, I can't say personal friend, but at least on social media, friend. He interacted with me quite a bit, and I will miss him a lot.
Yeah, the whole Second Amendment community will.
Yes.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for this particular episode of the Robinson and Wright Show. Again, this has been an extended edition where we hung out for 2 hours with Pat Nicklaus, a member of the Federalist Coalition, also a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment, and that's what the majority of the conversation has been about tonight. If you're just tuning in, because I've seen a couple people chiming in chat in the last few minutes, you can catch the entirety as a podcast here in just a few moments. It'll reset as soon as we shut down. Want to remind you guys that if you like what we're doing here, you can follow along a few different ways. Find us on Spreaker by searching KLRN Radio. Give us a follow. You'll get updates anytime anything that we post goes live or drop even as a replay. You can also follow along with me on Twitter at AOTR_host. It's the best way to do it. Phone's always in my pocket, usually always on Twitter. You can also follow along on Facebook at Rick Robinson or the America Off the Rails Facebook page for the show that I do 4 nights a week right here on KLRN Radio. And, of course, you can hear me there Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern. You can also hear me on this one, of course, on Friday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern. And then we do the Jen and Rick Show on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern. I think I said some times wrong there, but I'm getting tired. Anyway, it's on the calendar on the website, so if I said anything wrong, you can look it up there later. And if you sign up for updates, you'll never miss a show anyway, so go do it. Do it now. All right, we're out, folks. Take care. Good night. God bless. And again, want to thank Pat Nicklaus for hanging out with us, not for 1 hour, but for 2. We'll be back next week.
They also serve those who stand and wait, praying by the phone to learn their loved one's fate. But they're still in the war, and let there be no mistake. They also serve those who stand and